So tell me, after you kick a goal and you go down to this end in front of your home crowd.
Here's Jack. Ginnivan's got through. Ginnivan has kicked a goal. Oh, Jack.
Or you kick a goal and you go down that end in front of the opposition crowd.
From Finn, back to Jack. Another goal to Jack Ginnivan.
Which one was better?
That one. Saying goodnight to the Pies. That's what helps you play. The adrenaline kicks in, and without these fans, we don't do what we do. So thank you so much.
These young brash Hawks have had a day out at the MCG, and they are coming.
That's why I love this club, because you get to be yourself.
Post that's unbelievable, isn't it, from Jack Ginnivan? Back to haunt the Pies too. It was quite a day for the Hawks, who continue their rise, and who knows how far it might go. What did you like, Joey, the most about the way the Hawks dismantled Collingwood? And we'll get to the Pies shortly, of course.
Yeah, well Daniel Hoyne at Champion Data put on the agenda ages ago about the Hawks ground ball and their ability to win contest and ground ball and how far that would take them. And it was on display in the conditions against Collingwood yesterday afternoon in the wet and blustery conditions. The ball was on the ground, but their ability to win front and squares or crumbs was off the charts. I could have shown about 20 of these where these smalls, particularly the small half forwards that are natural, small forward players, were getting in the right spots to win all these ground balls all day. So they won 33 more ground balls than Collingwood, which is the best differential by any side since 2022. And a lot of it was just front and square. It wasn't in clearance. It was all in general play. And these were just some examples of these guys getting in the right spots, Collingwood having no answers, and it leading to scores. And that's why it was no surprise when you looked at the highest rated players on the ground. It was Nick Watson, it was Dylan Moore, Bruce, McDonald, Ginnivan were all in the top 8 highest rated players on the ground because they just got to the right spots. It was a masterclass how to get front and square and crumb and then feed off the back of that. I was really impressed with it, and it's a definite threat that the opposition have to try and handle.
Yeah, the technical side of what they're doing all over the ground is a great credit to Sam Mitchell and Adrian Hickmott, who's coaching the forwards and doing it so well. Now, the Dacos family are a bit worried, Kingy, because, well, the big man in the ruck for Hawthorn.
Big Meekie.
You're showing a lot of love towards him lately.
Well, it's an extension of probably what Joey's talking about, because the forward 50 stoppage craft is back and in a big way at Hawthorn. It's on the back of Big Lloyd Meek. We love Meekie, and we've shown him week on week. It's the same hit out and the same formation every time. So if you're not ready for Newcombe to come spearing through from boundary side to inside to dish off to an inside mid to kick the goal, then you're going to get nabbed every week. They kicked 5 goals too from forward 50 stoppages. This was a bit different. Fist to the front, ready for it, organised, well executed. They are planned and orchestrated to win an inch of their lives. This is great coaching, great execution, and they continue to score. I mean, when you look at their stoppage games, 8-7-55 is their 5th best return for over 7 years of footy at the Hawks. And they've had some pretty serious players at Hawthorn in that period of time. They put 130 points on the Pies. A ridiculous number. They haven't done that. Collingwood don't concede that sort of score. Hasn't happened for about 75 games. So I love what Big Meekie's doing, and he's bringing these ground level players. If your weaponry is small ball, that's exactly what you want. A stoppage inside forward 50.
All right, so what about the Pies? We need to turn our attention to them. And the lab analysis with thanks to Xero, online accounting to make you do business better. Any number of ways you could go, but you want to look at the change from this year to last.
Yeah, you don't see it until I think we expose it, and then when you can't stop seeing it. But last year we showed you this, their ability to line out in real time, in general play. And when it fails, they were still able to correct and reverse back and get their line out to go again. So started as one, broke away, come back. And that's how they did their damage. Outnumbering, all running at speed. And we see it form, but we don't see it commit. So it starts, and that's exactly how it started last year, and then there's no real wave coming. There's no real effort run. And now they've got a wall in front of them. Now they have to become a kicking team. They're an awful kicking team. So this is why their plan has fallen away so badly that it's hurting them, because they refuse to work for their teammates. They refuse to get over and outnumber and support the levels of last year. They're in good order here. In really good order. Last year they would have run and gun. They wouldn't have kicked quickly to a one-on-one out wide. They would have exposed the opposition through the middle. Where's Bobby Hill going here? He's just leaving him to fight a fight 1-on-3. Now that wouldn't have happened last year. Last year they would have speared over there in real time and got it all covered. So I just think it's broken away and changed. Look at Hawthorn just put some yards on him here, Joey.
Yeah, it stood out, didn't it? The leg speed of the Hawks compared to Collingwood in this game, even in the conditions. It was obvious that they were just running on top of the ground and Collingwood just couldn't go with them. And we've seen that consistently throughout this year, whether it's been injury or not, that the Magpies and leg speed has been a factor in some games.
So it's not unusual for the Premiers, we've seen it with Geelong and other teams in recent years, to come off the following year. But where are Collingwood at, Joey, in your mind? What are your main concerns?
Well, that's the chat now about the bigger picture about Collingwood and his age starting to catch up with him, because it was lauded it was one of the oldest premiership teams of all time last year, and you see on the weekend they're still the oldest team in the competition with the most experience, and we know they've got some senior players there. But when you actually see the list and actually look at it, and we'll get it up now, so going into next year, so these will be the age of the players, how old they'll turn next season if they all go on. So it's starting to become alarming. So there's got to be some big decisions made at the football club. How many of those 10 or 11 players can they go on with? How many can they keep? How many have to start, maybe moving past, whether it's keeping them on the list or not playing them in the senior team, and trying to get some more youth in? Because this has been a year where, yes, they've had a lot go wrong, but they've got bigger picture in mind. And Kingy will talk about it, because they have said, and they've been on record as saying they're going to continue to draft and trade in and bring in players for the now. They're not necessarily wanting to rebuild. But that leads to the point about, OK, but who are the young players that are going to be the next wave? Because we're not talking about young players under the age of 21. This is for next year, 25 years and under. This is all they've really got that we've seen. So there's not a lot there. And I mean, even Reef McInnes, Ned Long, Finn McRae has shown he's probably not up to it, and Charlie Dean, we're really clutching. There's a handful of players that are 25 and under. So they're really relying on these guys between the age of 26 and the over 30s. And the question is, how far can they take them? And do they just have to continue to top up and try and squeeze out another one or two premierships? Because they've won their flag, so they could be happy.
So what are you suggesting they do?
Well, I think that with that little talent under the age of 25, they have to start to get some drafting in at some stage. They can try and squeeze out and try and win one more premiership, but they're going to be in a hole for a long time. Nick Dacos will take them a long way for the next 10 years. He will, but he's going to need some support.
Second youngest player yesterday.
Yeah, he's going to need some support. So I think they've just got to be very cautious about how much they try and bring in and how much they have to use and go to the draft. What's your take?
I'm concerned when I hear the club say he's going to purge some high draft picks and get known products in and pay a bit extra. And it's a risk. Is that the Geelong model? Is it the rebuild model? I don't know what works. You've got to pick your own poison, but it's a gamble either way.
And I know it's easy to say after yesterday, but it does make it even more confusing with Jack Ginnivan. I mean, to release a player, and I know they got Lockie Schultz, and we all thought that was a good move in itself, but he's a young player, and maybe they didn't explore all the options with him. And given how many players...
he risked the grand final. You can't. You've got to put your culture and your standards above all else.
And you don't forgive a young player?
To risk a grand... it's a hard one to forgive. Turning up grand final day and finding out one of your players has burnt the races the night before. I think that's a tough one for coaches to walk past.